Good morning, everybody. I'm running a little late today. I slept in because I just did. Let's see if we can get things up and going. Music is slightly louder than I'd like. There we go. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I like background music, so maybe you do. Maybe you do too. Okay. So yesterday, what did we do? We did this Gilbert and Berg and Simone Thornton paper on eco-social citizenship and education. That was fun. I mean, good times. Yeah, the paper was interesting. It defined citizenship in terms of education instead of education about citizenship. Anyway, let's get back to see what's new for this morning. Asian Bioethics Review. Let's see if it's available. I doubt it. It's so new, but you never know. Oopsie, what did I just do? Nah. Would have been way too easy. Bio essays. Bad faith reasoning, predictable chaos, and truth. Wow, that sounds exciting. Can always let's see if he's I can't find him quickly. I'm not gonna sit around Googling. Intuitions on the individuation of musical works. I may just come back to that one. That might be good. Later. Cognition and emotion. Attention bias variability and post-traumatic stress symptoms. The mediating role of emotion regulation difficulties. Or the interplay between the importance of a decision and emotion and decision making. Oh, wow. That'd be cool. Let's find out if it can be read. Nah, why would anything be online? That'd be crazy. Alright. Know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna go back to thought or something and get a thought or analysis. And what do you think? Thought or analysis? Thought or analysis? Let's go thought today. Because I need to warm up. It's early in the morning. It's all of like 10:30. Yeah. Can I remember how to spell CHO? THO. Thought. A journal of philosophy. We did this argument from sideways music. What it takes to be hunky. We've looked at a bunch of these before. Let's just go with some like random. What's next? Are those the forthcoming ones? How to build a thought. We uncover a surprising discovery about the basis of thoughts. I can already tell you, I'm going to have problems with whatever this is. There ain't no surprising discovery about the basis of thoughts. We've been doing philosophy like few thousand years here in the West, maybe longer in the East. Ain't nothing that surprising. Yeah, see, plausible axioms. Alright, well, we'll take a look. Just because me being old and get off my lawn like is not AndrewMBailey.com. Thank you, Andrew M. Bailey. Oh no, is this just citation? Okay, good. We got the whole thing. Thank you, Andrew M. Bailey. Okay. Another view. Another bots in the chat. Awesome. If you are in the chat, if you should like to join me on one of these things, you can type exclamation point paper, and you get the link, so you can get right to the fill paper page, and you can follow along if you want, if you're ever here. Let's see. And so there's, yeah, if you don't know, there's instructions in Twitch chat you can set up, and I put you can see what's going on. So it's called, we're doing philosophy roulette. This is the paper that we landed on today. So that way you can follow along, and if you're watching this on the YouTube, then I have the link in the below in the description, so it should just be easy to access at any time. There's once or twice in the past I've gone online and put a little more effort into finding a paper, and I may do that again, but so I might have to provide my own link to the paper in those cases. But again, if you're reasonably internet savvy with finding papers, and you can find them yourself. It's not hard. There's plenty of rather cagey instructions on how to do it, but they're not hard to find. Yeah, I'll back in has saved all of our butts. Well, all of us non-academics butts. And all of us underemployed or accessible academic people's butts. So, thank you, I'll back in. Okay, without further ado, let's skip the introduction because the abstract, because I'm already angry. Granted, not hard to do. Interesting. You have thoughts, really? I don't. Oh, you have thoughts. Well, that's a strong first sentence. Okay. How? What is the basis of a thought? This question takes us to the foundation of all minds. You see, you're starting off with a lot of big words and big claims in the first paragraph, the first line of your paper. Good for you. Good for you. Good to be bold. Let us begin by considering a standard framework for thinking about the basis of thoughts. Now, alright, so you're already assuming you can have a standard framework for thinking about the basis of thoughts. Also, there's already a lot of stuff just built into this. Okay, let's move on instead of me being grumpy. This framework looks like a construction zone. Okay, that's already reductionist. When we're building thoughts out of something, they're not coming from the third realm, not Phrygian. In this zone are the building blocks for marvelous things, including your thoughts. What else is the building blocks for? Could there be other marvelous things that could be built out of this? That'd be cool. The construction materials are non-mental bits of reality that can ground, fix, determine, or subvene thoughts. Ooh, I've not seen subvene. I guess that'd be the opposite of supervene. That's cool. One, we think... what was the... I forgot. Oh, did they have endnotes in this? We call this thought-making framework the grounding framework. Oh, this is a grounding paper. Okay. According to the grounding framework, thoughts have their ultimate basis in thoughtlessness. Non-thoughts make thoughts. Okay, so we dualist now. Okay, so we're dualist because we've got the thoughts and non-thoughts. Cool. Here is a different framework. Oh, okay, maybe not. Non-thoughts do not make thoughts in a certain... Oh, so maybe they're anti-Cartesian. Alright. Non-thoughts do not make thoughts. In certain folk paradigm, the idea that non-thoughts make thoughts is a strange idea. The idea that this article has its basis in chaos. Like the idea that this article has its basis in chaos. Another word that is not well defined. Perhaps instead of thoughts are first movers, the ultimate architects. So they're Aristotelian. On this framework, even though non-mental things can... Well, maybe they were right about their chaos then. We've gotten like a bunch of different words going and things going in different directions. On this framework, even though non-mental things can affect or influence thoughts, the non-mental does not fully ground thoughts. Okay, so we've got... Yeah, so they're still sort of... Cartesian, but then you've got the thoughts, and you've got the thoughts, and you got the non-thoughts. Where's the video here? Oh, I don't even know which hand I'm looking at. So you get thoughts and non-thoughts, and sometimes they're overlapping, sometimes they're not, and whatever. Hey, birdie. There's a bird outside the window. We will leave open all options at the outset. Maybe thoughts are among the basic building materials in the construction zone, maybe not. Our purpose here is to provide a tool for a fresh inquiry. Maybe they are not dualists, but they've got like a three-part ontology. That'd be cool too. The tool we shall bring forth is a proof of a theorem. Okay. We aim to inspire new thinking about the basis of thoughts by laying out a proof of this condition. If certain axioms we present are true, then the link between thoughts and their non-mental basis is merely contingent. In other words, non-mental states or events, non-mental items, states or events do not necessitate any thoughts. This conditional is a guide rail for developing theories about the nature of thought and their grounds. The link... Okay, so something in the world happens. A certain axiom, according to certain axioms are true, then the link between thoughts and like something out there is contingent. The thoughts weren't necessitated by the world. Okay, that doesn't seem actually that strong. I mean, there may be multiple reasons for thoughts, and the worldly situation may only be a non-sufficient cause for them. It just might be necessary, but not sufficient. To be clear, our purpose is not to endorse the truth of the antecedent. While we do find the antecedent independently plausible, others could find the proof of a reason to reject the antecedent. The value of the proof in any case is that it proves a platform for thinking about thoughts in two ways. Either by 1, developing a grounding framework with other axioms and teasing out their consequences, or 2, reframing our understanding of the construction zone in which thoughts can arise. Again, this construction zone is a metaphor, but it's doing work for them, so a little concerning on... Oopsie, what did I do? Yeah. Okay. Did I hit something? Did I hit the wrong thing? I just want to highlight construction zone. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this is doing work, and so there's a question of what exactly the work that it's doing for them is here. Before we proceed, we wish to draw attention to the significance of having a formal proof in place. In the early stages of developing our argument, several philosophers commented that the conditional, the deduction from axioms to theorem, seemed so surprising that they did not think it could be established. For this reason, we develop a precise formal demonstration. This demonstration provides a clear and unforeseen constraints for theorizing about thoughts. I have never been so, I am very easily confused. Clear and unforeseen constraints. I mean, I am so easily confused that I'm just all these scary words are scaring me. For theorizing about thoughts, it gives our feet secure steps onto new ground. Yeah, I should figure out if there's fun ways to these other things. Oh, there's a stamp. Maybe we could stamp ooh, that'd be fun. this thing right here says stamp. Maybe I can like get images and I can just like stamp like doubtful, like big ol' like doubtful stamp, or like awesome, or like good point, or like terrible point. I'm gonna start doing that. That's a good idea. Okay, this is this program here is called Ocular. It's a KDE PDF viewer. It is super cool. I mean, I generally use I've been using GNOME for years at this point, and but KDE, it crushes it sometimes. I should really run a KDE desktop. If and when I get enough money to buy a new computer, I think I might try KDE, although the new release of GNOME looks pretty killer. For all you Windows folks, that's just Linux speak. Although, as you can see, works almost perfectly fine on stuff like this. So it's like, if you want to do depending on what you want to do, Linux could be for you. Not judging you on it all depends on your priorities. Alright, establishing the guide rail. Thoughts have contents. They are about things. Okay, we've got the aboutness claim here. So intentionality. Alright, again, another big claim in the very first few words of a paragraph of a section. But not controversial. Your thought that the present article is intriguing, for example. I don't know if intriguing is my the overriding concern at the moment. For example, has the content that the present article is intriguing. So we've got a redundancy theory of intentionality. Fine. We will show that certain principles about the content of thoughts imply something about the basis of thoughts. Yeah, but you see, you've already built in your thought about the present has the content that the present is intriguing. So we've got, this is already doing work for you. We will show that certain principles the basis of thoughts. A few preliminary sets. We use plural quantifiers. Okay, that's fine. That bind plural variables, taking as variables one or many items. Second, we will speak of classes without commitment to the existence of classes. Fine. Our talk of classes is translatable into talk of pluralities. Third, we will speak of types of logically possible thoughts, thoughts for short and variable domain semantics. We speak of types rather than tokens because we are interested in the relationship between logically possible types of thoughts and logically possible types of grounds. For example, if particulars of a certain type enter in a certain argument, would be a certain type of thought thereby. If particulars of a certain type entered a certain argument, would a certain type of thought thereby be instantiated. We will speak then of types obtaining, being instantiated. For ease of presentation, we will also talk about types of grounds. Next, some definitions. Let G be the class of types of non-mental grounds of mental types. Let ob x equals x obtains. Okay, so this is an existence predicate right here. Okay. Let GRGT be the obtaining of G and obtaining. I need a pop filter. I'm sorry, I can hear it myself. The obtaining of G and obtaining of T, and G grounds T. Okay. And let EGT be G entails T. I don't know why they need a predicate for entailment. Yeah, I wonder why they would do that. I mean, there's plenty of other ways to show entailment outside of, especially reusing the E for what's often an existence predicate. I mean, they've got the OB here, but fine. And G entails T, T equals, okay, let E, G, T, G entails T equal to, it's necessary that the obtaining of G implies the obtaining of T. Okay, fine. I'm sorry about my complaints. I'm just grumpy this morning. We give two modal axioms to characterize necessitating full grounding. Axiom of necessitation for all G, for all T, for all grounds and thoughts. If it's possible that it's possible, or if it's necessary that it's possible that G grounds T, then G entails T. So then it's necessary. Yeah. So if it's possible that G grounds T implies, if it's necessary that, okay. So if there's a ground for it, then G entails T. Essentialism. So it's also essentialist. If T obtains, for any T, if it's possible that the thought obtains and it's not grounded by G, then it's necessarily not the case that it's not the case that G grounds T, that there is a grounding of G, that T, for that thought. Okay, these are not that bad. Axiom N records the principle that grounds entail that which they ground, while ES says that whatever can be ungrounded is essentially ungrounded. There is no ground for it. Equivalently, necessarily whatever is grounded cannot be ungrounded. Yeah. We recognize that there are other non-necessitating notions of grounding, and we will explore the implications of these notions in the next section. For now, we aim to expose a result that governs this particular necessitating conception of grounding. Okay, so again, you have to sort of buy this view of grounding, which is fine. It's a reasonable view of grounding to see what their conclusions are. Another disclaimer: we make no assumptions about what sort of states may be a non-mental ground of thought. Okay, whatever they happen to be. Grounds may include functional states, physical states together with laws, exegetus states, or any mereological sum of non-mental states. Okay. Next, we give axioms about the content of thoughts. Start with the definition. Let THYXX read: Y is a thought that at least one of the XX's exists. So we're building in an existence claim, a thought about existence. Okay, we call types of thoughts that take the form of Y existence. Existence thoughts. We focus on our argument on existence thoughts for illustration and definiteness, while leaving open other ways one might generalize the argument. Okay, I can already tell you that, like, personally, I have problems with, like, existence claims. How people give truth values to existence claims. So this is probably the underlying source of my grumpiness, but that's my personal philosophical views. So let T be the class of existence thoughts. The content axioms: EX existence for all G's that exist in P of G. There exists some thought that what is TH? Do I know what TH is? Thought is this thing. So for all G's that are in P of G, there exists some thought that G's exist where PG is the class of subclasses of G, whatever G happens to be. Distinction: for all G's, group of G's 1 and group of G's 2 that are in the subclass of G, there exists some thought 1, thought 2 such that thought 1 grounds G1, the G's 1, thought 2 grounds the G's 2. Claims the existence of G's 1, thought 2 claims the existence of G2, and T1 equals 2, then G1 equals, is this comprehension? Oh no, it's distinctness. Okay. Yeah, so if there are two thoughts that ground two different groups of things and they're the same thought, then the G's are the same. I'm not entirely sure about that, but distinctness, fine. It says that, yeah. Then we're going to get to translations in a minute. This is why I don't like doing logic, because in real time translating logic back into English is very hard to do. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's you get donkey sentences and you're just like, well, how was I supposed to, it's not the clearest thing to go back and forth between formal language and natural language. For all T that exists, for all little t in big T, it's possible that T obtains, and it's not the case that some T2, where did the T2 come from? There exists T2 that are also T, and T2 is not equal to T, and obtain T2. So, yeah, so it's possible that if one thought, then it's not the same as another thought. Okay. Here are the translations. Axiom EX is about scope. A thought can be about anything, including different classes or grounds. That's fine. Yeah, it's just a for all thing that a thought could ground it. Axiom D adds thoughts are about different grounds are about different thoughts. is axioms about all types of thoughts. Ideas allow that different people become different tokens of the same existence thought. Yeah, so there's these quantifiers over thoughts. Yeah, this is the quantifiers might not be normal either. The backward Z, but I don't know. Axiom I is about independence. Every existence thought can, as a matter of logical possibility, obtain independently of any other existence thought. For example, a thought of the form some things exist, A and B exist, can obtain without the thought of the form some things exist, C and D exist. I don't know if that's the case, but it seems reasonable. But I don't know if that you can do that, to tell you the truth. In general, it is logically possible for any existence thought to obtain independently of any other existence thought. Maybe. I mean, probably likely, but it'd be a hard argument to argue otherwise. But you can see how it'd be a hard argument to prove anyway, because you're talking about existence thoughts, and how would you know their exact ontology or the metaphysics surrounding them? Whatever. Probably nothing hangs on that. One hopes. Let us have a closer look at axiom I, which is the independence. Yeah, existence thoughts have a certain form, that is, a thought that at least one of the X's exist. The form of a thought distinguishes one thought from another. For example, the thought that at least one of the things A and B exists is not the same as the thought A. The thought that at least one of the things A and B exists is not the same as the thought that A in particular exists. Axiom I entails that these different thoughts can obtain independently of each other. Yes, again, and I was just complaining about that, because it seems reasonable, but I mean, you'd have to fill out a whole theory of what an existence thought is, not just define it as such, because independence of logical atoms is an assumption you can make, but that doesn't mean the world is actually like that. One might wonder whether existent thoughts that overlap in content can in fact exist independently of each other. To draw out the concern, okay, so they are worried about this too. To draw out the concern, consider the pair of thoughts. The thought that one of the things exist, A and B exist, the thought that A exists. On first blush, one might think 2 is not independent of 1, for the content of 2 logically entails 1. Well, that might not, I don't think it's because 2 entails 1. The content of 2... Yeah, content of one of these things exists. A thought that one of these A and B is a thought that exists. Yeah, because it's just an or. This concern brings to light an important distinction between the logical independence of the contents and the existential independence of the thoughts. The proposition that A exists logically entails a proposition one of the things A and B exists. In other words, the contents of 2 and of 1 and 2 are not logically independent. It does not follow, however, that someone can only have the latter thought if someone has the former thought. You see, of course, no, that's right. But the stronger claim, which they're going to get to, someone could obviously... See, anytime you're going to say anything is obvious, I can almost guarantee you I'm going to be like, that's not obvious to me. Obviously think that A exists without also thinking that anything at all about B. Similarly, someone could think that one of these things A and B exist without also thinking that A exists in particular. Okay, so sure, I mean, but a lot of people hold that you have to also assert the logical implications of things that you know. So if you have one thought, maybe you are committed to some of the logical implications. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. So I mean, this is not a I mean, that's a position that a bunch of I mean, that's a known position. That's not some like random thing I'm making up. So I mean, it's not uncontroversial. Now, it seems very reasonable in this case, but since they are making big claims, a lot hangs on all of these things. So, similarly, someone could think that one of these things, A and B, exists without also thinking. Now, exactly what does the thinking mean? Are you what is it? Is this a kind of committing? Is this a performative act? Like, I think, therefore I am? Like, I'm thinking, and when I'm thinking it, then I'm not also thinking A. I'm not thinking either A or B. Yeah, I don't know what thinking is, and so since we're trying to build thoughts, it matters that you're talking about thinking here. Thinking here, there. when trying to establish a basis for thought. Yeah, there's obvious and where is that? That A exists without also thinking. So I mean, this is when you're trying to talk about thinking. Okay, moving on. Time for the implications. From the above axioms, we will deduce the following theorem about a thought's grounds. Thoughts ungrounded. It's not the case that for any t, in big T, there exists some g that's in big G. It's possible that g grounds t. In English, it is not the case that every existence thought has a possible non-mental ground. Okay. It's not the case that every existence thought has a possible non-mental ground. So, this result is far from trivial or easy to see consequence of the axioms. It takes a number of steps to deduce the theorem. Therefore, we will offer a detailed deduction, which we will take to be the most significant discovery of this article. Before we give the formal deduction, here is a quick informal summary. First, by the content axioms, there are at least as many elements of T as there are elements of PG, since there's at least one logically possible existence thought per group of logically possible grounds. So you've got, for every thought, there's a ground for that thought. Then by Cantor's theorem, there are strictly more elements of PG than elements of G. It follows that the elements of T outnumber the elements of G. So there's more thoughts and grounds, I guess. There are more logically possible types of thoughts than logically possible types of grounds for thoughts. Then by the grounding axiom and the axioms of independence and distinction, there are too many members of T for each to enjoy its own unique necessitating ground. The result is that some mental types have hang free from any non-mental ground. Oh, so they're diagonalizing on grounds. Okay. Was it? Yeah. Then by the there are too many members of thoughts for each to enjoy its own necessitating ground. Yeah. So okay. Okay, they're diagonalizing probably. Now for the details. We assume Cantor's theorem expressed in terms of plurals. I don't know if that's legit, but we'll have to assume that it is. Modal system S5. See, again, this is going, the modal systems matter, but it's reasonable. And inference rules of classical logic. Occurrences of G, and is this underlined? What? Occurrences of G and T pick out elements of G and T respectively. The deduction. Yeah, it looks like this is underlined. Maybe that's just a typo here. I wonder why it would be underlined. There's an injective function from from P of G to T. Okay. From all the groups of grounds into thoughts. Alright, so proof 1. For any G's, P of G, we've got axiom EX, that there exists some thought that grounds G's. There exists some F G equals the T. I don't know what the T is, but the thought grounds G. For all G1, this is another axiom. This is the distinction axiom. Then we've got what do we do? Well, therefore, you sort of reduce. Oh, you just instantiated, I guess. Okay. There's inject function. Okay, this is just showing the. I'm not going to read this out. There is no injective function from the P of G to G. Counting theorem, there's no injection from T G. Proof from the lemmas. Okay, so we've got all these logic-y things. I can't read this. I mean, we have to assume that this went under some sort of rigorous logical review. As you might expect, we can obtain a more general result about all existence thoughts. Alright, so they got their thoughts ungrounded theorem here. That for all T, there exists some G that potentially, possibly, G grounds T, so there isn't a ground for all the thoughts. As you might expect, we can obtain a more general result about all existence thoughts if existence thoughts are uniform with respect to groundability. Consider the following axiom of uniformity. Uniformity U. For all T1, T2 in T, there is not the case that there exists some G such in big G, possibly that grounds a thought. If there is no such G, then it implies that there is no G that it's possible that G grounds some other thought. where you no possible existent thoughts are possible non-mental grounds. From you, we just deduce that no possible existent thought has a possible non-mental ground. Okay. And universal ungrounded, there is no T in big T that's G, such that it's possible that G grounds T. So there is no something that the universe has no ground. Okay, we might generalize further still insofar as one is the only relevant difference here, or differences in content, and two differences in content do not make a difference with respect to groundability. It follows that non-mental things cannot ground any possible thought. Hence, either our thoughts lack non-mental necessitating grounds, or we lack thoughts. Okay. We have established a guide rail, which we call contents to grounds. If the content and the grounding axioms are true, then no existent thought has a non-mental ground. Let us weigh the significance of this discovery further by exploring some of its consequences. So this is what I said at the very beginning. This is not for Gian. You do not get thoughts, the third realm, something out in the world, or some third place comes in to affect your thoughts. It's no existent thought has a non-mental ground, or you could say every existent thought has a mental ground, I guess you could say. Again, we don't know what mental is. We don't know what these existence thoughts that something in the world exists. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have a problem with that sort of statement to begin with. But let's hear what their consequences are. Our package of axioms implies something interesting about you out there in the world. Your thought that some of the brains exist, henceforth brain thoughts is an existence thought. Some of what brains exist? I don't know what that means. Yes, this is the sort of thing that gets me. It's like I start losing what should be obvious sentences. From universal ungrounded, it follows that you have a thought without any possible non-mental ground. This result clearly bears on leading views in philosophy of mind. Physicalism, for instance, is sometimes defined in terms of grounding physicalism. For any person S and any thought T such that S is thinking T, there is some physical state P such that P grounds the fact that S is thinking T. Okay. So according to grounding physicalism, brain thought is grounded in some physical state. Yet universal ungrounded tells us that brain thought is not grounded in any non-mental state. The result is that any grounds of brain thoughts are themselves mental. Thus, the mental floats independently and autonomously of non-mental elements of reality. Okay, so really what's going on here is they just ran a whole nother Descartes dualist argument, but for grounding. Okay, that's very clever. Good for you guys. It's just, this is what my problem is with this had a lot of big claims. They like to say about what you're thinking, what I'm thinking, what you're thinking, and all the stuff in this, and it makes it sort of sensational. But they have a good point, but it's a little sensationally written. I mean, everyone has to write a little sensationally, otherwise people get bored. You have to entertain your reviewers, basically. That's what's going on here. But I mean, this is why you have brain thoughts. This is I think, therefore I am. So you have some sort of thinking about thinking. You've got a brain thought, and then therefore you get something new, an existence thought. Okay. So, still, universal ungrounded leaves open a broad physicalist view. In particular, one could suppose that human persons are exhaustively decomposed into non-mental physical parts, even if those parts do not deterministically ground every mental state. Yeah, so this is against the causal closure of physical thought, so that's fine. Perhaps even grounding can go the other way, from top down, as they say. Particles in your brain can move at the command of your thoughts. Oh yeah, so there's downward causation, even while those thoughts are themselves composed of nothing but those non-mental particles. This view denies that states of parts are always ground states of the whole they compose. Grounding can proceed from the whole down to the parts. Yeah, downward causation. This top-down solution invites questions about the origin of thoughts. How can a system of particles produce a thought without grounding or necessitating the thought it produces. Whatever the answer, contents to grounds, constraints are options, and the significance of our discovery is in seeing this constraint. Typo. It is so hard to write a philosophy paper, and you end up making dumb mistakes like this, or someone does along the time, because every single word in this whole essay has been changed 4,000 times. It's just the nature of philosophy, and you just forget to change one back when you need to. Let us try an alternative response. We could view contents to grounds as a new argument in support of dropping one or both of the grounding axioms. Although the grounding axioms are negotiable, they arguably capture at least one important understanding of grounding. So having an argument against this conception is noteworthy in its own right. So let me read that again. Although the grounding axioms are negotiable, they arguably capture at least one important understanding of grounding. So having an argument against this conception is noteworthy in its own right. Yeah, so if you want to talk about the grounding axioms. Moreover, even without the grounding axioms, we have not removed the result that the link between thoughts and their grounds is contingent. Suppose we give up N, that grounds necessitate that which they ground. Then we expose a new puzzle. Our original puzzle concerns the origin of thoughts. How can thoughts arise from non-thoughts? Yeah. Grounding theorists give us an answer and label grounding. Still, if the link between grounding G and between a grounding G, you should italicize this here, and a thought T is merely contingent, G does not necessitate T, one may wonder what explains the consistency of the connection between G and T. Is this link brute, unexplained, thought-like law, or does it have a deeper explanation? To be clear, contingency is not the only source of puzzlement. One could still wonder how or why it was the pineal gland. Clearly, that's what does it. Wonder how or why a necessary link obtains. Nevertheless, contingency may add some puzzlement by removing a certain type of explanation. If the link were instead necessary, then we could say at least this much. The link obtains rather than not because it cannot. It cannot not. That explanation, you could just say it must. The explanation is not, well, again, maybe they are going for some sort of excluded middle concept here, but anyway, that explanation is not available if the link is merely contingent. In any case, discovering that the link between thoughts and their grounds is merely contingent would be significant in its own right. Maybe we could deny the other grounding axioms, ES instead. Suppose ES is false. Then a thought can be ungrounded. But if thoughts can be ungrounded, but never are, well, Frege would have a beef with you. Then it is puzzling why they never are. It's just coming in. They're just not grounded. Why they never are. Thoughts can be grounded, but they never are, yeah. Moreover, if we kick away the grounding axioms, our guide will still lead to the striking result that grounding physicalism is at most contingently true. In other words, if you want to build a thought, nothing you can do to various non-thinking construction materials will guarantee success, because the link between non-thoughts and thoughts is contingent. What happens if we give up one or more of the content axioms? This move too has significant consequences. Suppose we reject EX, that for any possible ground there can be a thought about their existence. This might be where I'm coming in. Then, contra EX, there can be some non-mental grounds that cannot be thought about. There can be some non-mental grounds that cannot be thought about. In other words, certain non-mental things, but not others, could be the objects of thought. Maybe. I mean, although paradoxical cases arise with respect to the thoughts about themselves, the scope of EX includes only non-thoughts. What then could explain the cutoff between the thinkable things and the unthinkable? Well, maybe we don't have to explain the cutoff between the unthinkable things and the thinkable things. I mean, that might be just we can't think about certain things, and we don't know where that borderline is. That might not be that bad, frankly. I mean, if there are unthinkable things and there are thinkable things, the gap between them is not really my concern. I'm only concerned about the thinkable things, and the unthinkable ones are too far away. that's okay. And what could explain the cutoff? Well, frankly, we're stupid little things, and that would easily explain why we can't think about lots of other stuff. We're finite, we make mistakes, and some things may eventually be within our grasp. Like nowadays we have a lot more math and we can think about a lot of different things than they used to be in the past. Why couldn't the people in the past think about them? It was just too hard. I mean, that's not a crazy thought, that certain math that's available to it today would be too hard for the people in the past given their resources. Granted, there's geniuses who see way ahead of everybody else, but that, I mean, you can't expect like Euclid to be doing the math we were doing today, just because as brilliant as some of the ancient mathematicians were, they just don't have the thousands of years of history and work that we have put in. This is a very easy thing to explain. Just human history explains what could explain the cutoff between thinkable things and the unthinkable. It's just hard. The challenge is seeing how any constraint on what is thinkable could be non-arbitrary. It's not arbitrary, it's historical. Considering that we have a procedure for coherently defining distinct thoughts in terms of any grounds. I'm sorry, I'm grumpy. This is a very nice essay. First, represent each ground with a phenomenal map, like a visual. Oh god, why are they making so many big terms here? Like, first, represent each ground with a phenomenal map, and 2, second, for any group of phenomenal maps, package them into a conceptual bundle. I don't want to make phenomenal maps in conceptual bundles. Really, that's a lot of work, and I don't know what goes into all that work. With an existent thought operator, that at least one of the things in blank exists, and now we've got like a quantifying into a sentence. Why should some of these thoughts be logically possible but not others? All seem equally coherent. I have no idea. Okay, we'll take their word for it for now. Suppose instead we decline the axiom of independence or the uniformity of groundability. Then mere differences in content make a difference with respect to... Sorry, that got me all worked up. Then mere differences in content make a difference with respect to independence or groundability. This result would also be significant news. I don't know. Then mere differences in content make a difference with respect to independence or groundability. Well, if you've got different stuff, then maybe it makes a difference what the ground is. Not all thoughts are equally groundable. Well, that's their point. But maybe some things do matter. For our part, it seems obvious that a categorical difference with respect to independence or groundability cannot turn on mere differences in content. Yeah, see, they're making a lot of assumptions about the sort of things thoughts are. They were only talking about existence thoughts. If you're only talking about one sort of thought, maybe, I mean, they say they can generalize. They should be able to generalize, but maybe existence thoughts are special, or there are other kinds of thoughts that are have significant differences. I mean, the fact that they're talking existence thoughts, this, as I said, this looks like a sort of a Cartesian dualist argument. Maybe there is something special about I think therefore I am, and that's why it's lasted so long, everyone's so fascinated by it. And maybe there is something special about existence thoughts, and other ones are not the same as existence thoughts. Okay. For our part, it seems obvious the categorical difference with respect to independence or ground cannot turn on mere differences in content. In any case, if they can, well, you are having you had multiple existence claims in your logic. You had the obtaining and I would assume the plural existence existential operator. So I'm not actually so surprised that you've got a lot of existence issues, because you've got a lot of that built in, and a lot of theories that have to support that stuff built into your argumentation. In any case, if they can, we have a puzzle about explaining how, why, and under what conditions. Yeah, there's a lot of existence talk going on here, and I mean, this is a good article, but it's like to pin exactly down what the extent of the logic, the existence in the predicate of the obtaining, and the existential quantifier is non-trivial stuffs. Consider too that the puzzles resulting from leaving aside the content axioms are akin to the original puzzle about the origin of thoughts and consciousness in general. Part of the puzzle of consciousness, that is the hard problem of consciousness, is that it is hard to see how any mere differences in arrangement of materials could account for the categorical shift from non-conscious to conscious, from third-person features to irreducibly first-person features. Yeah. One solution is to include first-person building blocks in our construction zone, but if we do not like that solution and instead give up the content axioms, then we have a new puzzle. How can mere differences in particles result in a categorical shift with respect to whether those particles could be the objects of thought? Well, it's in the pineal gland, I told you. That's what it does. Are some possible particulars simply unthinkable by any logical possible mind? Why would that be? This question points to another hard problem, which we will call the hard problem of content. This problem is new. Here's the upshot. We have discovered a new guide rail for thinking about thoughts. The guide rail takes us to 3 paths. First, we show we could follow the grounding and content axioms to discover a construction zone with basic mental materials, ungrounded thoughts. Second, we could depart from the grounding axioms and find a surprising contingency between thoughts and non-thoughts. Third, we could depart from the content axioms to discover surprising restrictions on the content of thoughts. Those paths are open. Yet we can now close any paths that combine our axioms with a strictly bottom-up picture of reality, for if our axioms characterize thoughts, then mindless matter cannot take every element of every mind. Whatever path we take, we now have a new guide rail for advancing our thinking about thoughts. Okay, you just argued for dualism. Good. Good. Very good. It was very well done. I have some grumpy complaints about this, but it was a very, as you said, Joshua Rasmussen here. Joshua Rasmussen said that no one believed you until you gave your proof, because they were so shocked that you could give such a proof. But, okay. What I just said that snippily because it proves that all the things I'm complaining about, most people do not have complaints about, and so they didn't think that anything that was in the setup was that controversial, and so they didn't think anything was controversial. The fact that such a result was provable is significant, and so all my snippy comments aside about my disagreements with things do not actually matter, because I don't, for the most part, make any difference in academic philosophy. So, yeah. But, yeah, very, very nice author Joshua Rasmussen. Azusa Pacific University. I've not heard of that. Yale, NYU College, Singapore. Okay, Azusa. Footholds below. I wonder where that is. Anywho, if you like this review, let me know. Leave a comment on if you want me to read anything else. I did get that Hudson paper from a comment the other day. That was a lot of fun, actually. So thank you for watching, if anyone does, and I'll be back hopefully soon. I think I'm scheduled for tonight, so I might just do another one right after this, but we'll see. Have a good day. Bye.